begin. In the way of announcements, Joseph's treatment this week went a lot better. He was feeling kind of bad this past weekend, but his treatment went a lot better than expected, went a lot smoother than it has been. He is supposed to go into his next phase of treatment this next week, so things are going to be a little bit different. I don't remember exactly what all that entails, so I'll find out a little bit more on that, and hopefully I can announce that on Sunday. Lydia wasn't feeling well when we passed through Weatherford this evening after school. She was hurting in some way, and Sarah took her to the ER. She sent me a text message, so they went to Oklahoma City. I asked what was going on, but I haven't gotten a message back yet, so I'm not 100% sure on that. So if I find something out before the end of services this evening, I'll let everybody know. On a little bit lighter note, in retrospect to Veterans Day, I get newsletters from the VA and all of that. If anybody knows any vets or Gold Star members and you like to go to national parks, Gold Star family members, which means people who have family members who were vets that died in service, or if you are a vet, then you get lifetime free passes to national parks now. And also, if you know anybody that is an active service member, they get a 1-year pass, so an annual pass. But you have to go to the national park to get those passes. They don't just send them out. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. I haven't had a chance in a while because of work to go to stuff like that, but I like going to places. So when I do get the chance, so go ahead and let anybody know if you know anybody. That's a good way for vets to be honored. Alrighty. So we're starting in chapter 50. Brother Earl, would you lead us in a word of prayer before we begin, please?
Father in heaven, we're thankful for this day and blessings of this time. Pray, Father, that as we study your word, we'll approach it with open minds and hearts. We're thankful for the word that gives us a lighted path to you. We'll just through this study and the rest of our lives, all these things we ask in Jesus' name.
All right. We did start in chapter 49 last week, which starts a new section. And we finished up chapter 49. Chapter 50 is relatively short with 11 verses. So we'll go ahead and begin that here this evening. Let's go ahead and read the first 3 verses. Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have ye sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. Wherefore when I came, was there no man? When I called, was there none to answer? Is my hand shortened at all, that it cannot redeem? Or have I no power to deliver? Behold, at my rebuke I dry up the sea. I make the rivers a wilderness. Their fish stinketh because there is no water, and dieth for thirst. I clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth their covering. So, here at the beginning of chapter 50, Kyle and Delitzsch say that Isaiah is now shifting from talking to just Israel to the children of Israel by addressing the mother, by saying, where is your mother's bill of divorcement? I had mentioned before that we kind of talk in the New Testament, especially Ephesians chapter 5, how it says that the church is the bride of Christ. In a sense, God was married to Israel, and Israel turned its back on God and through idolatry, and found a new spouse because of the idolatry. So in a sense, it cheated on God. Israel cheated on God and found a new spouse. God never cheated. God never did anything that would have been wrong in that marriage. And so he's saying, where's the bill of divorcement? I didn't give a bill of divorcement. But it's because of Israel's sins that they are in transgression, or that they are in captivity. It's because of stuff that Israel did, not anything that God did, that he's saying here.
Don't think they were in captivity. The northern kingdom may have been, but I don't believe during Isaiah's reign they were in that, were they?
Well, I'm saying sold yourselves, given away. They were given away here.
So who's your mother's? Your mother, are you saying?
Well, as we're about to get to, he's wanting them to look back to their past. This would be those previous, but he's having them look back to the sins of their past, what they have committed.
I think the mother is the nation of Israel.
Right.
Referred to the nation.
The overall.
The overall nation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he goes and says, "For which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you?" That would be the children or the Jews that sell the people. But the nation, just like, he would be talking to your mother, that'd be the United States in our case, and you would be each individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't mean that they were actually in captivity at this time. No. But
the difficulties, they're always having some
the problems they were having, it was because of their sins. It's what they have done, not anything that God has done. It's like little children. They want to blame somebody else. When they get in trouble, they always want to blame somebody else. And God is saying, it's not my fault. It's not anything that anybody else has done. It's what you have done. And so he's wanting to bring light to their sins and what they have done. In fact, he's saying that he has done everything that he could to take care of them. He's done his part. They're the ones that have turned their back. And we'll get into that a little bit more, everything that he has done as we read through this and the next couple of chapters. Okay. Anything else on those verses? Okay. All right, Steve, could you get 4 through 9 for us, please?
For the Lord has given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak the word in season to him who is weary. He awakens me morning by morning. He awakens my ear to hear as the learned. The Lord God has opened my ear, and I was not rebellious, nor did I turn away. I gave my back to those who struck me, and my cheek to those who plucked out the beard. I did not hide my face from shame and speaking. For the Lord God will help me, therefore I will not be disgraced. Therefore I must set my face like a flint, and I know that I will not be ashamed. He is near who justifies me, who will contend with me. Let us stand together. Who is my adversary? Let him come near me. Surely the Lord God will help me. Who is he who will condemn me? Indeed, they will all grow old like a garment. The moth will eat them up.
So, we saw last week that there were 3 sections that talk about the servant, and this is the second section, 4 sections that talk about the servant. This is the second section. In this second, the servant is represented as a prophet with a mission. In the third, he contemplates his preparation and qualification for prophetic work. He says that his tongue has been taught. He's been learned to speak the word.
Let me throw a couple wrenches in your theory
Okay.
here. How's that sound?
Go for it.
All right. You know, this whole chapter 50, you could insert Isaiah in there, or you could insert Christ in there.
Right.
This whole section, in verse 1, we're talking about your mother's divorce, and where about that, and he says, this may be Christ talking. You sold yourself. In verse 2, wherefore, when I came, there was no man. When I called, there was none to answer. That's talking about the Jews and Christ coming to them. If you look at that, and you put Christ in your mind all through this section here, and it says, I clothe the heavens with blackness and make sack, blah, 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 blah. And it says in 4, the Lord hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak the word in the season. This could be Christ he's talking about here in 4. And in 5, look at 5 and look at 6. That 6 doesn't sound like Isaiah. I've never seen a prophet that's a little too boasting like to be Isaiah almost in 6, where he says, I've given my back to the smiters, and my cheeks to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and pity. You know, if you go through there and kind of insert Christ, it's almost like you have what I call the dual prophecy. And I used not to believe in those much, but I've gotten where when I set this whole section and actually make it about Christ or almost about Isaiah, then what do you do with it? And in verse 8, it says, look at 7, for the Lord God will help me, therefore shall I not be confounded. Therefore I set my face like a flint, and I know that I shall not be ashamed. He is near that justifieth me, who will contend with me? It's almost like Christ talking there, you know. I mean, you look at this whole section, because we're going to get into that in chapter 53, but it looks like almost, I'm just putting that out there. If you read it one direction, then read it the other direction, and it's almost dual. I mean, in fact, some of these things just don't really fit Isaiah very well.
It does sound like it could be, yeah. We know that Jesus was spit on. So, it could be. Okay. All right. Let's.
What do you got to say?
Do what?
Never mind. That's the problem with those iPhones nowadays. That's what everybody's doing. These kids now.
I know, right? The problem is that's not an iPhone. He doesn't know what an iPhone is.
Maybe it's an earphone.
It could be, yeah.
Go on. I've had enough.
All right. 10 and 11. Earl, could you get 10 and 11 for us, please?
Who is among you that feareth the Lord, that obeyeth the voice of his servant, that walketh in darkness and hath no light? Let him trust the name of the Lord and stay upon his God. Behold, all ye that kindle a fire, that compass yourselves about with sparks, walk in the light of your fire and the sparks that ye have kindled. This shall ye have with mine hand, ye shall lie down in sorrow.
All right. So he talks about those that are afraid. They shouldn't be afraid. They should actually trust in the name of God, trust in God himself. And the disobedient who reject the light of truth. We're going to talk more about those that are afraid in the next chapter. But in verse 11, behold, all ye that kindle a fire, that compass yourselves about with a spark, walk in the light of your fire. What is this fire? Not a good one?
I think so, because it says, "And you shall lie down. This you shall have from my hand, you shall lie down in torment."
Torment is the word for in the New King James. Is that a sorrow? Okay. It's almost a better word. Let's see what the Hebrew says here.
It's a different fire from God.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the Hebrew word means anguish. Yeah. So torment's almost a better word. It kind of brings out that Hebrew meaning a little better.
The kin fire, there was not there.
Yeah. So, yeah, when we talk about fire, it can mean two different things. It can mean destruction or it can mean to regrow. So there's two different meanings, and this one looks like one that's not very good.
I think that fire is talking about, God is the light, Christ the light. I think this fire, these little sparks they're making, they're kindling their own light, their own idolatries, their own ways. It says, you kindle a fire and compass yourself with sparks in the light of your fire, and the sparks that you, in your own light, your own path, your own way.
Let's put it back on us as Christians in the New Testament. God said, or Christ says, "Ye are the light of the world." But where do we get that light from? We get it from God. It's not our light. We simply reflect it. But if we try to make our own light, then we're in the wrong.
So these preachers on TV do, I think.
Mhm. Right, exactly. When we try to boast about things that we do, it's nothing that's ours. It's not any of our abilities. We get everything from God, and we should put it all back on God. Give Him the glory, give Him the honor.
I think it's too easy for people to forget 100%, no matter what we have, what we do, without Him, we wouldn't have it or do it.
That's right. When we go to work and we make money, why are we able to do that? Because we have strength, because we have health, and we get it from God. It's not because of anything of ourselves. Okay. Anything else? Sorry, go ahead.
It's walk in the light of your fire, and in the sparks you have kindled.
It's the wording. It's saying if you do that, in other words, then you're going to lie down in torment or sorrow.
So if you walk in your own fire, if you relish your own and what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of 11 on New King James says, "Look, all you who kindle a fire, that kindle your own," kind of meaning thing.
Yep. You're lighting your own spark. Okay. Anything else on that? Comments, questions?
On the last verse, I've got a reference to John 9:39.
Okay.
And Jesus says, "For judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may not, or be made blind." And that's what he said right before, "You shall lay down and pray."
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "This you shall have from my hand," and mine is the nice capital.
Yeah.
So that's God. He's going to issue out that punishment.
Which goes back to the top of the day about your fire that you're kindling. You think you see, and you'll be made blind.
Mm-hmm.
So beware if you think your heart's tough.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
You know, people say, "I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that." Well, it's everywhere. Well, you read in the Bible when Moses said, "I hit the stick." I mean, how's it any
anything else? Any comments there?
That's any illusion to that.
Let's go ahead and go into chapter 51. This one's almost as double as chapter 50, because chapter 50 was kind of short. Actually, it is double, one verse more. Chapter 51, this one's broken up here, first 8 verses. Charlie, could you get those for us? 1 through 8.
Okay. Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek the Lord. Look unto the rock which you renewed, and to the hole of the pit whence you were digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. For the Lord shall comfort Zion, he will comfort all her waste places, and he will make her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation, for a law shall proceed from me, and I will make my judgment to rest for a light of the people. My righteousness is near, my salvation is gone forth, and my arm shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on my arm shall they trust. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their revilings. For the moth shall eat them up like a garment, and the worm shall eat them like wool. But my salvation shall be forever, and my salvation from generation to generation.
Thank you. We're going to get to another verse, verse 12, and I'd like to look at something in the New Testament when we talk about fear. But the nation has forgotten about God. So he points them back to Abraham and to Sarah, who did know God, did remember God, did fear God. And he says several times, attend unto me, hearken unto me. He gave them a law. They didn't follow that law. They have forgotten the law. And so he reminds them of this law. He also says, lift up your eyes to the heavens and look back upon the earth. This is God's creation. And in the New Testament, Paul says this is how people are without excuse today, that God exists. His own people forgot about God. And he's saying, look to the heavens, look to the earth. You know that I'm here. You know that I've cared for you. You know that I cared for you in giving you a law. Look back to where you came from, Abraham and Sarah. You know that I cared for them. Remember. What does Paul say about the Old Testament? It's there for our learning. And so, all these... Right, that we might have hope. So all the scriptures are there to teach us that we can grow in maturity. 2 Timothy 3, 16 and 17. So we need to study those. We need to know those. We need to use them for our memory to learn from and not forget what God has given us.
We need to remember that we are one generation away from the apostasy, and they worship. We learn from that.
That's very true. And we don't have to look any further than the nation that we live in right now. And the politics we have all around us, the people we have all around us, and our own country is crumbling.
We found out in my generation, the congregations that don't know the Bible, they have Bible classes, and Bible teachers, but they don't know the depth of the Bible. They don't know how to interpret the Bible. Those congregations we found can be just one preacher away from the class.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the preacher comes in and leads in a direction that they haven't studied enough to be able to know the difference. That's why we need in-depth study. We don't need to just make fun of myself, do the fill in the blanks all the time.
That's also why we, as individuals, need to be in part.
Right.
Most of them, they'll argue with you and they'll say, where is that in the Bible? I don't know. You don't know? No, I've not read the Bible. And I'm thinking, well, then why are you arguing with me about it?
Well, I've been in larger congregations where if you ask a question, you can ask questions as long as you agree with the teacher. If you disagree with the teacher, you better not ask a question. Charlie and I wouldn't last long in that kind of congregation. But that's what, to be prepared for a question you don't agree with is the only way you can know that you know the Bible. Because if you haven't studied that far, how do you know that you can defend it? How do you know that you can answer that question? That's how I was supposed to be before.
Well, and another way to show weakness, about 10 years ago, I went to a larger congregation. I was in a Bible class, and I just answered a couple of questions, and they were really simple things, and I didn't even answer a question. I just kind of spoke up a little bit. And after class, it was the Bible class teacher and just another person. They said, wow, you really know a lot. And apparently, there was just nobody talking during class. And I was like, I don't really know that much, and I really didn't say very much. I don't know how you could really get that determination just from that little bit of class time. So when people aren't speaking up in class, when they're not answering questions, that really shows a weakness in Bible knowledge, or you really can't determine what people know either.
And you have teachers, so-called, that are just reading a book from 21st century Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they know. They don't really have the in-depth knowledge of this all they know.
When you've got a young man that can answer a question or two and seem like they know more than the older people in the congregation,
Well,
that's kind of sad.
That's kind of funny because I remember, I think it's probably at least 30 years ago, it's never is somewhere in the city where somewhere in the city where a relative attended, and we were in a small group setting, and they had two teachers, two men teaching class. They were sitting up there on the bar stools.
Co-teaching.
And co-teaching, and I mean, I didn't think anything of it, but yeah, I was answering questions and making comments and asking questions, and they did the same thing in the class. Just ooh and ah about how much Bible I said, well, I'll read everything. Studied it. And I memorized verses. I make it a habit to actually memorize verses. So I'm not doing anything that I don't think every Christian should do.
Right, no. And with that kind of stuff, one, we need to stay humble. But two, it's kind of sad because we should expect the brotherhood to know more, because we should expect the older members to know more than the younger. They should be teaching.
It astounded me when that happened. So it's something to me because I don't know much really. I feel like there are a lot of people, but it astounded me that these people that are teaching other people that I look up to would even say that just because you answer some question.
Right, yeah.
And you're going, it kind of makes you do a double take. It's sad, really. Like you said.
But when you get that outside of the parameters of the study guide of the book, I mean, we're just like denominational classes. They have their Sunday school board or whatever that publishes the classes. And you get outside of that framework, they can't answer any questions.
And that's what I like about what we do here is where we actually go through the scriptures. We don't just use a workbook.
And you can disagree, how many times have you dealt with it? You'd say, all right, you go to your office and you study it, and I'll go to my office and study it, and we'll get together and see what we come up with.
Well,
And I like that, you know?
there's a caveat to that. I don't mind work, but as long as you work it up. Dale always worked his own
Well, yeah,
class.
yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't order it from anywhere, he worked it up himself.
And he had
As long
his
as
own
you're working
worksheets,
your own
yeah.
class, so I don't care if you print it out.
And that was what was good about Dale's worksheets is he made questions up from the Bible. And it was something about getting deep into the text. It wasn't just,
You need to have work. with the
Right.
class.
yeah, and as a teacher, we need to know more, and it helps us to know more when we study.
I say that using another man's outline on Sunday morning, but
Well, yeah,
Sometimes you take someone else's work, or maybe two or three people's works, and cobble the things out of them you like, the points, and then you put them together, and then add some stuff you want to put.
get your own study.
right. You
Yeah,
make sure
I mean,
you
you know, I mean, for a lot of us, I do that, go cobble stuff, okay, that's pretty good, I need that, and this from here and that. Take out most, I used to read a lot of sermons, and I'll take 2 or 3 points from this one, and maybe something from that.
Just so he doesn't get a big head, there's a preacher that's told me before, a good preacher's a good thief. And you take somebody else's outline and you make it your own.
But he can bring out a point, try to bring out a point that somebody else might have missed, and somebody else might bring out a point. Jerry Brewer, not this last time, the time before, had one, and I was astounded. He had a point, and I couldn't tell you what it is, but he had a point that I was like, whoa, I never even caught that.
Yeah.
I thought that was great, you know?
And it's all from the same text.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so,
one reason relationship used to be a big thing. We'd have a meeting for 3 or 4 days and speakers, all that.
on the same topic, but
Yeah.
they'll have different titles
Well, it'd be
to bring out different things.
different specific topics.
Right.
There'd be a lot of overlap. And yeah, everybody would have, in fact, back when we could talk to each other, we'd have forums and question and answer sessions in the afternoon where 2 men took a different position on the topic would sit up front and they would either get written or written question. And I really liked it.
And
We didn't get upset, we just, we agreed not to not be disagreeable, but we learned each other's point of view and went back and studied this.
he brought that up. I've mentioned in the business meeting a couple of times now, last couple of months, that we are discussing next few months ahead, like next summer or something, possibly doing a lectureship or so you might be praying about that.
And I want to say this, what Earl was saying. I studied a lot of different places. I searched for a lot of years before I came here. And this is the first place I was real quiet for a long time. This is the, yeah.
Like
So
that way.
I did. So, but this is the first place I felt comfortable enough where I knew somebody wasn't gonna get mad if you got something wrong, they weren't gonna laugh at you. You know what I'm saying? I've never felt that before, so I'm really quiet, waiting for it's gonna work out, you know?
Yeah.
And nobody got mad, but a lot of people have some big egos in other places.
Yeah.
I try not to let anybody.
Well, I mean, it's like in my classroom, a lot of my students won't answer questions because they've either had classes where the teachers will allow other students or the teachers themselves will laugh at them for saying the wrong thing. And no classroom should be like that, and especially in the Lord's church. We shouldn't be like that because we should be about learning.
And I learned there's no such thing as a dumb question. If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Just because you're not as far along as somebody else, that doesn't make you dumb.
I had a cousin 42 years ago asked me a question seriously and presented their view, and I just on impulse laughed at them. And we had never talked about this since they hadn't. So you're right, you have to. It may seem like a ridiculous question based on your study, but you can't have people respectfully. I made that mistake.
They might have been seen as unaccused this year, you're thinking, how did they not know that? But
Right.
Not everybody.
We gotta remember that we are always weaker than somebody else, and we were always weaker at some point, no matter where we're at now. So we don't have any business laughing at anybody.
Well, we learned in our last election, just because we understand things doesn't mean everybody else does.
Amen. That's true. All right.
Some people don't understand.
Let's see if we can get verses 9 through 16 done. And then the next section is actually, I believe, verses 17 and then chapter 52 through 12, verse 12. But we'll let Charlie deal with that. So we're going to try to get verses 9 through 16 here. 51 verse 9. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord, awake as in the ancient days, in the generations of old. Art thou not in that hath cut Rahab and wounded the dragon? Art thou not it which hath dried the sea, the waters of the great deep, that hath made the depths of the sea a way for the ransomed to pass over? Therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return, and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow, and mourning shall flee away. I, even I am he that comforteth you. Who art thou that thou shouldest be afraid of a man that shall die, and of the Son of Man which shall be made as grass? And forgettest the Lord thy Maker, that hath stretched forth the heavens, and laid the foundations of the earth, and hast feared continually every day because of the fury of the oppressor, as if he were ready to destroy. And where is the fury of the oppressor? The captive exile hasteneth, that he may be loosed, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. But I am the Lord thy God, that divided the sea, whose waves roared. The Lord of hosts is his name. And I have put my words in thy mouth, and I have covered thee in the shadow of mine hand, that I may plant the heavens, and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, thou art my people. So, God is saying again, through the prophet here, awake, awake, because they've forgotten. But he's saying he's going to take care of them. I like verse 12 here. He says, who art thou that thou shouldest be afraid of a man that shall die, and of the Son of Man which shall be made as grass? Why are you afraid of any human being that can die, or that's going to wither away? Matthew chapter 10, verse 28 is what I immediately thought of when I was studying through here, which says, let me get there here real quick. Jesus says, and fear not that which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. We shouldn't fear any human being, but rather we should fear God. God both takes care of us, and on Judgment Day, he'll take care of our souls if we don't have our sin problem taken care of. So, he's the one that we should fear. Now, if we love him and we've done everything we're supposed to, we should have that reverent fear and awe of him, and shouldn't have to be in terror of it. But he's the only thing that we should fear.
And he says, you're not supposed to fear the man that can kill the body,
Mm-hmm.
but the
The
Lord.
one who can take the soul.
Interesting line here in 13. Who stretched out the heavens?
Mm-hmm.
What does modern day scientists think of that? The ones that observe telescopes
Yeah.
out there, try to figure out where our origin comes from.
Yeah, and this is something like I've got students that always try to stump me on evolution and things like that, and they always talk about the whole speed of light and light year and all these planets that are far away and the stars. And, scientists will tell us that these stars that are billions of light years away, it's taking all this time for this light to get to us, so those lights are already burned out. Well, that's because they believe that the universe is expanding away from us. Well, if that's true, wouldn't our star already be burned out? And they wouldn't be able to see it? And we're still on an egocentric universe. We're still thinking that our galaxy is the center of the universe if everything's expanding away from us.
Well, they're finding out that that's not true.
Yeah.
And I read an article the other day that they have found another galaxy that's rolling.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, and galaxies are forming all the time.
all the time.
What I try to teach my students is, and this isn't necessarily true for everything, but in science, true scientists should never try to say that we have proven anything or that we're trying to prove anything. All we should say is that the evidence supports it. And one of my students tried to argue with me one time, and they said, well, we can't prove anything. And so then, what was it, he said, like somebody threw something across the room and I saw him throw it. And they said, well, you can't prove that he just threw that because you saw him throw it. And I said, well, scientifically, I would say that the evidence supports that he threw it, but I wouldn't say that I can prove that he threw it. And that's just from scientific terms.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Well,
Me too.
The evidence was given, I was watching them do it.
Right, but the evidence supports. Scientists, too many times today, say that they have proven something, but we're always learning new things all the time. And so it changes it all the time. But when they say that they've proven something, then it becomes fact.
There's a lot of theories.
We don't, there's no real scientific facts out there because we're always learning new things, and scientists think that they have a lot of facts and have proven a lot of things.
Well,
They really
they
have.
say in the medical world, what's true today, in 5 years it will change.
Yep, that's true.
But there are real absolutes.
No, there are, yes. I'm just saying from a scientific point of view,
Yeah.
we shouldn't say that we're proving it.
There are some absolutes.
Yeah.
And that's something that's happening now, is can we really know the truth, even the church of places?
Yes,
Can we really know for sure the truth?
yes. Now, yes, from that perspective, yes, and that's what I'm saying. But from a scientific perspective, we should never say that we've proven anything because we're always learning new things. And things are always going to change from a scientific perspective. Okay.